Well, I think the green one is better, I say out loud, and fish the olive green jacket from the clothes stand. Excuse me, can I help you? Asks a somewhat elderly shop assistant with a forced friendly expression, really not looking as though she has any great desire to help me. No thanks, I actually do know what I'd like, I answer politely. On top of that, I already have an advisor, I think, and turn once again to the jacket. Do you also think the olive would be the right one? I ask. Yes, it's perfect, I hear. Good. I'm also agreed on the choice and look up satisfied. The elderly professional clothes seller gives me the once-over with a this poor nutcase look. There are always crazies, she mumbles quietly to herself. Oh man, why is she gawking so stupidly? I snort. Well, they certainly think it's a bit strange when you talk to yourself, chuckles the world's dearest voice into my ear. I give a sigh. Yes, sometimes I think myself I'm crazy. You know that's not right, he says sadly. Now I look at him and wrinkle my forehead. He looks so real standing there in front of me, and I needed so long to realize that I'm the only one that can see him. The rather long brown hair is scraggy and disordered, but at the same time somehow styled, and he's always wearing the same black t-shirt that makes his shoulders look so incredibly sexy. And then the tight torn jeans, the gym shoes, and on top of that the smooth skin that never needs a shave. I give another sigh. If you think so. I go to the cash register to pay for the jacket, and he follows me silently. We often had discussions on whether I am crazy, but he swears I'm not. Maybe I am just the world's loneliest woman who has an imaginary friend she cannot touch, only see and hear. We leave the department store and walk along the mall. It is the most hectic time of the year, Christmas season. Many sad-looking people come towards me. I am astonishingly sensitive to the moods of other people. I don't know why that is so, but I feel how people suffer. So many of them are searching for happiness. What are you thinking, Mara? I'm startled out of my thoughts and look at him and stop. Just imagine that. I am covered in a thick winter overcoat, and he's walking beside me in a t-shirt as though it was summer. Man, it's mean that despite my overcoat, I'm freezing and you're getting about half naked. I snort. He gives a loud laugh. I'm just not so sensitive. You even use 3 blankets when you're sleeping, so it's no wonder you're freezing now. There is only one overcoat protecting your body. I glare at him enraged. I need my 3 blankets. One is for my feet, otherwise they get cold, and I hate that. The other I need for my head, because there is nothing worse than imagining something is creeping into my ear. Ugh! And the last one is for snuggling up. Snuggling up? You lie all rolled up like an embryo and cling to the 3rd blanket. You practically crawl into it. So what? It calms me down. I like holding on to something firmly. Oops. I didn't mean that. I had sworn never again to be so insensitive. Sorry, Ron, I mutter crestfallen. That's okay, I hear him say quietly. And I could bite my own butt. Why on earth don't I think carefully before saying something to him? As so often, my mouth runs faster than my mind, especially when I'm with him. The answer to that springs to my mind because in his presence, it is so easy for me to be myself. Then I am simply Mara Schroeder, 24, single. He does not mind that I like to sing out loud. He is not put on edge by my obsession with books, that I can plunge into a book without noticing when the world is crashing down around me. That I rant and swear when something does not succeed straight away. It's not as though I were particularly impatient. Not really. Maybe a bit. He knows my fears and my dreams, and if he was made of flesh and blood, he would probably be the best thing a woman could wish for. He was my most faithful friend, all of last year. I don't have a best girlfriend, to say nothing of a man who fulfills my life. I find myself to be normal and as dull as dishwater. My nose is so pointy that I could easily pass muster as a witch and is a pure horror. My mother says I have an aristocratic nose. I don't know where she got that nonsense from, but after all, mothers have to judge their daughters beautiful. Who else if not one's own mother? My brown hair is long but nothing special, and my eyebrows have, for a while at least, been plucked. Thanks to the useful tip, from a friendly photographer in our neighbourhood who tried in vain to make out my eyes in the thicket of the brows. Those eyes with their curious mixed colours of green, brown, and grey have therefore come into their own. They are the only feature of myself that I really like. My legs are so long that the cruel classmates gave me the title stork legs. For that reason, and because I never found the correct size of jeans, I hated my legs in those days. Now I accept them. At least Ron finds me attractive because I have that certain something, as he once said. Though I'm not at all certain that he really meant that seriously. It was on a bad day when I saw again Marcus, my ex. Marcus was the first man I was intimate with, and I believe I'll never get over him. For that matter, he was not at all as good-looking as I have him in my memory. But still, when he suddenly stood in front of me, I was as if struck by lightning and incapable of holding a reasonably sensible conversation. Memories and feelings and emotions welled up in me. When we got to know each other, I was stupid and naive, but he, in contrast, was intelligent and wise to the world. The only thing I could do well was writing letters, and that always impressed him. Those days I was accustomed to load my letters with many foreign words to prove that there was more in me than my appearance let you suppose. Nevertheless, 3 years later, it was over. I put an end to the relationship before he could do it from boredom. Only 1 week later, he was with another woman, a notorious nymphomaniac. In retrospect, I think he was not Mr. Right, and that it was best to let him go. But the pain stayed on, and my intestines still do a crazy dance whenever I accidentally meet him. "You're sunk in thought again," Ron comments. Among other things, I'm wondering why I never think things through before talking when I'm with you. He grins, and then he says, "Because you feel good." Yes, you're right. And why do I feel so good? Because I'm uncomplicated and take you just as you are. Peep, please define uncomplicated. And yes, the second thing you said is correct, I answer with a smile. So do you find me complicated? Ron lifts his eyebrows in surprise. I have to find you complicated, or else I'd have to actually accept that I'm complicated, and that will not do at all, I explain. He shakes his head. Have I got to understand that now? Why are you always so illogical? Aha, you see, I knew it, I yell out loud. What? He shouts back. Come again? Bummer 10, where? He laughs. Oh, very witty. We say come again, not what, I remind him. He rolls his eyes. Okay, so? What did you know? I think it over for a short time. Ah, yes, I knew you're complicated. You don't understand that women have another way of ticking, and you're trying, in fact, to analyze me. That, of course, you can't do, and that in turn makes you weirdly complicated. He shakes his head and walks on in silence. Hey, what's up? Nothing. Nothing at all. Let's go home. The fresh air is not good for you. Still shaking his head, he walks next to me. I hate it when he is so quiet. I like to converse with him. So I say, what about a movie? Do you think we should borrow a movie? What sort of movie? He grins. A romance? One where you dissolve in tears and wine. OMG, I want that too. It is so romantic. Where can I find me a man like that? How annoying that he can imitate me so well. That's just how I am, I think. And I say out loud, okay, then let it be a horror movie. He gives a broad grin. That you only half understand because your face is hidden behind a cushion and during which you yell, run away! You are so stupid. Oh, well, that is true too. Okay then, an action movie. I look at him full of expectation. He rolls his eyes. Mara, in an action movie, you suffer so much that you hit out at everything around you because you want to join in fighting the criminals. I remember my outbreaks and sigh. Okay, what about a comedy? He again looks at me in amusement. Where we have to watch the best bits 2 or 3 times because you laugh so loud that you miss the next jokes? I'll tell you something. You're a terrible person. I am now bleating. I did not say a single word about not wanting to watch any of the movies with you. I'm just reminding you of your characteristics in relation to the various genres. His grinning is now quite diabolical. Your way of carrying on shakes me to my core, I sigh theatrically. He laughs. Hey, actress, choose a movie and I'll be with you. Anyway, I can't change anything. I couldn't even throw it out of the window if I didn't like it. You've never really tried that, I remind him. Now he is sour. I haven't got a real body. Why should I try something I would certainly fail at? Who doesn't try doesn't win, I provoke him. I'm not going to discuss that with you, he answers seriously. Okay, but occasionally I'll remind you of that. I can't stop myself from saying. You can be content that you're the only one I have, he says quietly. I flinch. Was that a threat? Frightened, I try to look him in the eye, but his head is sunk. He gives such a hopeless impression, as always when I expect something from him. But why does he not try out whether he can use his body in some way? He could at least try it. But in that respect, he is so stubborn that I'm biting into granite. Okay, I'm the only person who can see him, and he can't even see other ghosts. True, he has never admitted he's a ghost, but what else could he be? He doesn't know it himself, and he has no memory of any kind of anything at all from his previous life. But he is informed on so many things that he must have his knowledge from somewhere. At first, I wanted to do my own research, but he vehemently forbade that. He does not want to know. Now he's in my apartment every day and seems simply content to have someone to talk to, and I too quickly got used to him. I remember our first meeting. It was Christmas, almost a year ago. I had just met Thomas. Quite honestly, he was really sweet, and I was quite taken in by him. One day he told me he wanted to fly to New York with a couple of buddies, and he promised to send me a card every day. As I said, it was shortly before Christmas, and I felt lonely. In the pub, I met another man and thought, crazy, he's so cute. But when I had gone home with him, I discovered that he was Thomas's brother. He wanted only a one-night stand, but now, of course, it was all over with Thomas. That was clear to me straight away. While I was walking depressed and filled with guilt along the streets, it happened. I talked loudly to myself and wondered why I am always so impulsive, and then Ron was suddenly standing in front of me. He looked at me and said, "Being impulsive is nothing bad. What has she got against that?" I looked directly into his beautiful, sad eyes and said he should be so kind as to mind his own business. I'll never forget the look which he then gave me. It was an astonished, incredulous, and at the same time relieved, indeed almost a happy look. "You can hear and see me?" he asked in astonishment, and I thought only, man, what sort of crazy is he? Without a word, I walked on. But Ron followed me and seemed so incredibly relieved that I thought, okay, I'll listen to what he has to say, and then we'll see what gives. It did not take long before it became clear to me that I was, in fact, the only person who could see him. Well, from that day on, he has been with me at home and he's still there. Really, I'm scarcely ever without him except when I'm sleeping, and then he's lying next to me. He says he can feel me, but in a totally different way from what I could think. Yes, I do feel at least his moods, but I can't touch him. But he touches my heart. Perhaps that's what he means. At the beginning, I thought I was getting crazy. In my world, there are no ghosts, and yet he must be something of that type. Perhaps he still has to finish something on Earth. The fact is, I have no clue, but he is good for me. The big city can sometimes make you rather lonely, and my parents are still often travelling. I have no siblings I could bug, and so I'm quite happy to have Ron around me. Since meeting him, I have tried to continue living my life quite normally, but it does not really work out. Perhaps it's because Ron gets me to look at things in a new way. I no longer have the need to pick someone up out of sheer loneliness, but really I am not at all lonely now, if you consider that I can't feel Ron's body. A bit of a hug now and then would really be great. But it just doesn't happen because he has no firm body. But if he had one, it would probably be divine. At that thought, I can't suppress a grin, but then comes another idea. If he ever got a firm body, he would probably leave me, because he simply knows me too well. Never before had anyone got such a deep insight into my way of thinking, of feeling, and of acting. My deepest secrets I have entrusted to him, and he knows me in all possible life situations. Not even my parents know me so well. Ron tells me directly and without hesitation when he finds me impossible, and that happens quite often. Have I already mentioned that I'm somewhat impulsive? That is probably an understatement. My specialty is putting one foot in it after another. Unintentionally, of course. On the other hand, I can feel great sympathy for my fellow human beings who have been badly treated by fate. I can't walk past a beggar without half emptying my purse. Fortunately, there is mostly not much in it. Ron occasionally puts a brake on me and explains that the beggar will only top up his alcohol supply with my money, then land drunk at the next corner. And he is right about that. He is always right. A rather annoying characteristic, by the way. Some people look on me as a trash can soul. Ron says I let myself be used too easily, and I know that too. But I just can't see anybody suffering. Probably that is why I became a kindergarten teacher too. Because the little kids are still so unspoiled and you can give them something good on their journey into life. Yes, I love my profession, even if sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the bureaucracy. Nothing happens spontaneously. Everything has to be discussed. My highest boss is someone who can speak well, but does not have the necessary ability to implement things. So generally nothing happens. But what most frustrates me is the fact that there are many things in a family you cannot alter, no matter how much you would like to. You are helpless. To see individual fates and sometimes not be able to do anything against that gives me quite a lot of distress. Why do some people have children at all, and why can I not help those who urgently need help? So I am left with only the time in kindergarten to make children happy, and I do that too. Because of the tight budget, I frequently throw in money from my own pocket to achieve anything at all. Ron often says I am mad when I write a piece for a play till late at night or sew a costume for it. But that doesn't worry me because, as I said, I'm an educator with body and soul. Sometimes, I know living with me is not simple, and so it's clear to me Ron would never decide on me if he had the chance with another. I look over at him and sigh. I don't want Ron to be mad at me. And a part of me really does not want him to research his fate, because then I would perhaps lose him. But how long will he stay with me? What say if I wake up someday and he is no longer there? Sometimes I think that our world is only a stopover for him, and soon he will have to go away. When I have that thought, a cold shiver runs down my spine and a lump forms in my stomach. Mara, what's up? Have you got visions of horror again? I won't just simply go up in smoke. He calms me down, as always knowing what is going on in my innermost self. But how can he be so sure of that? Trust me, I just know it, he says quietly. Are you still mad at me? I whisper. I'm never mad at you. And I don't know why I can't summon the energy to start researching, but at the moment I simply don't want to. Can you accept that? Yes. Of course I can accept it, even if my feelings are conflicting. One half of me says he has to fight and find out what is happening with him, but the other half demands, just leave it as it is. We have got as far as the video shop and are wandering down the shelves. After a somewhat lengthy search, I decide on a comedy with Sandra Bullock, The Proposal. I pull out my membership card together with money and give them to the chap at the cash register, and then Ron and I leave the shop. It's already pretty dark. It's time we went home. Ron admonishes me with a serious voice. I nod and walk on. It's not far from the video shop to home. Luckily, I live very centrally and don't often need to use my car. My neighbour and friend Larissa uses it all the more. As I turn round the corner, she is getting out of the car and waves to me and looks devastated. I walk faster. Oh no, she's crying. I can't bear seeing her so unhappy. Larissa, hey, everything will work out again. I take her into my arms. What is it? I add, although I can imagine what it is. I wanted to see him. She blurts out, snuffling, and I am not surprised. And, I ask, He wasn't there, so I drove to his house, and there I saw him. He kissed his daughter and looked so happy. Then his wife joined them. A regular ideal family, she sobs. We went through all that at Thanksgiving. You knew he wanted to spend Christmas with his family as well. You're just an affair for him. I've said that to you a zillion times. Let him go. He doesn't deserve you. She vigorously shakes her head. But he is always so sweet, and he pays so much for me. He's just keeping you, I interrupt her. I know she doesn't want to hear that, but she has to be shaken awake at last. No, he loves me. He told me that. It's just that he can't get away from her because he loves his daughter so much and he's scared of losing the little one. Simpleton. In that case, he should claim the right to custody. I am angry with that guy who has been playing games with Larissa for 2 whole years. He said the woman automatically gets the children, she sobs. You know we have a different set of laws, I shout. He has as many rights as she has. He only has to try it, but he doesn't want to separate. And I don't know, to be honest, why you are doing this to yourself. He'll never leave her. He'll just continue telling his lies. Exactly. Ron agrees with me, annoyed. I glare at him disapprovingly. So what's up? He defends himself. She really lets that man lead her on. It's not as though she didn't deserve it. I don't understand why he deceives his wife with her. Be so kind as to stick to your own business, I think, and I look at him fiercely. Mostly that is enough to reduce him to silence. And that's how it is this time, too. He rolls his eyes and with his fingers draws an invisible line over his mouth. I turn once more to Larissa, who is still howling and clinging to my neck. I gently push her a little away from me and suggest, okay, I'll print the law texts for you again, and then you can talk with him again. But if he keeps on with his bullshit, then send him to the devil at last. She nods in a worried way and follows me to the door. I sigh. Would you like to watch a funny movie, to distract you? Sure I would, she beams with her ravishing smile. Next to her, Ron again rolls his eyes. Ron doesn't like Larissa. He thinks she exploits my friendship, but I take no notice of him. My friend is sad and doesn't know what to do, so why should I not cheer her up? So come over. At 7? She nods. Thanks for the car. By the way, the fuel supply is again very low, and unfortunately I had no cash to top up. Sorry. That's okay, I think I'll fill up tomorrow. She is still beaming at me. Great, see you soon. Then she runs past me up the steps to her apartment. I open the door and step into my floor. That I don't get. You'll fill up. Again. She's driven the car dry, Ron blurts out. We went driving too, I remind him indignantly. You went by car to the shopping centre and back. How far was that? 4 kilometres? And oh, you didn't bring her all of the fruit that she just had to have? Did she pay it all for that? No, she probably forgot that, I admit. Of course she forgot. Why not? I'd completely forgotten it too. Not everyone can have such a super brain as Mr. Ron Mastermind, I answer snappily. Larissa is a selfish cow. Understand that you'll never get as much back from her as you give her, and I don't mean that in a material sense. Do you always have to get something back? Gradually, I'm getting sulky. No, you shouldn't always expect something back, but I don't want you to maneuver yourself into a dead end with her. You can't count on her, and I mean that in every aspect of your life. She will always only take. His voice is insistent. Damn it, I know he's right. The phone rings and interrupts our quarrel. Mara Schroeder. It's me, Larissa. Mara, I can't come over. You see, I'm going right now to eat with Shani. She's just called and asked. Uh-huh, is all I say. I'm waiting for an invitation. But I wait in vain. Sorry. We'll meet up sometime soon, is all she says, and then she hangs up. Tears come into my eyes, and I turn away quickly so Ron won't see them. But I know he feels my tears and will give a commentary straight away. Okay, you're right, I finally admit, sniffling, and turn to him. He's sitting on the sofa with a sad look on his handsome face. I don't want to be right, damn it. I want you to be happy, he says. I am happy, I answer while tears are trickling down my cheeks. He furrows his brow. I know you're not happy. I truly am, I contradict him. I have a roommate who's always there for me, and that makes me the least lonely woman in the world. A tentative, slightly pained smile spreads over my face. Mara, you really are one of a kind. Don't you mean I'm weird? No, I find you really unique, and not only because you're the only one who can talk with me and sees me. You know, I'm got to know some people, I mean, of course, without their knowing it, but I observed them. And you are quite different and lovely, he says affectionately. Why does he always say only the right thing? He always gets it exactly right and knows how he can calm me down. He's simply a genius. Thanks, Ron, you're unique too, and also for being the first man who can put up with me day and night. He just smiles. You should have a bath now. You look tense. Oh, you man, you just want to see me naked. I'm now grinning. He gives a loud laugh. Always a pleasure. Great, but I don't want it to be a pleasure to stare at me. That sounds as though you'll laugh yourself silly. You're a marvelously beautiful woman, Mara, and have absolutely nothing to hide. I just don't understand why you have so many complexes. Have you ever consulted an optometrist? I ask with a smile and feel flattered nevertheless. How could I prove to you how beautiful you are? You know, you are radiant from the inside out, he explains. It's fine that at least you see that. I laugh bitterly. Others see it too, but you won't believe it. Think about it. Haven't you always got what you wanted? How do you mean that? When you think back on your boyfriends, haven't you been able to impress each guy even if he seemed unattainable? I don't know, I begin. But I know. You got everyone you wanted. Really wanted. I think about it and nod. All right then, you're right. Ron is not yet finished. And now to the topic of work. Haven't you got everything there too? Yes, but the one thing has nothing in common with the other. Yes, it has. You have a certain radiance that people find attractive, and so you're a genuine darling of fortune. But you're yearning for a true girlfriend or boyfriend, I feel that. Ron, you're my friend. I need nobody else. He furrows his brow. You know I can't be your friend on certain levels, and I know that you're yearning to be held. I lower my head in shame, as though he had caught me picking my nose. He continues. Hey, after all, you are a human being, and I understand that you would like to be touched, but you simply isolate yourself. How long is it since you had a date? I don't need dates. The last date I remember was cruel. I slept with the brother of the guy I was really crazy about, I remind him. He grins. I know it went askew. So he wasn't the right one. So what? Afterwards, you have never tried again. Afterwards, there was you. I don't drag somebody along for pleasure, I say indignantly. Why not? Are you being serious? Yes, why shouldn't you have fun? Are you scared I'll look on while you do? Oh, come on, Ron, you know me in all my life situations. I mean, you've even seen me spewing up after that disgusting Chinese meal. And I've not forgotten how once I opened my eyes and noticed you had caught me at you-know-what. He laughs out loud. Come on, that was exciting for me, and I still think I felt your orgasm. It was so intense. I'd be pleased if you did it again sometime. I raise my index finger in admonition. Oh, you're simply impossible. He comes quite close with his face. Really, I should feel his breath, but there's nothing. You looked so incredibly sexy, he whispers with a gruff voice. It was mean to watch me, I object miserably. But you knew I was there, he replies. I jerk backwards and stare at him. Excuse me. You had said you're going to watch a movie, so I was alone. I had even turned on the TV for you, do you remember? Yes, but then I suddenly felt a mighty force of attraction and had to go back to you. I don't like repeating myself, but you really are impossible. I smile. Oh, come on, I didn't find it bad at all. He laughs good-naturedly and then looks at me affectionately. A man in your life would be good. Who knows? If you got to know a nice guy, you would perhaps get rid of your helper syndrome with regards to Larissa. I haven't got a helper syndrome. Oh, yes, you have. Even an enormously pronounced one. You almost remind me of Mother Teresa. Huh. If you compare me with Mother Teresa, our conversation is finished. Note this once and for all. I'm going to bring nobody here. I have already plenty to do with you. Enough. And now I'm going into the bathtub. Good. Then at least you'll relax. He trumpets directly into my ear. Ouch. Suddenly in a bad mood, I stand up, flounce into the bathroom and start water running into the tub. Shortly afterwards, Ron is standing close behind me. "Are you taking a rose bath?" he purrs into my ear. I sigh. I just can't be angry with him for long. "Of course," I answer with a grin. To my utter astonishment, I know he can smell the rose aroma best. He cannot smell everything. But the rose aroma is my favourite smell, so I use it as often as I want. I get undressed and step into the bathtub. The water is hot and it lasts a while before my body gets used to the heat, and I can lean back relaxed. Ron gives me the once-over with interest. "It feels good, doesn't it?" he asks after a while. "Yes." "Can you feel it?" "I can feel through you. It's so calming, I like it." He gives a cozy sigh. "Why do you believe you can see, hear, smell some things, but neither touch nor taste?" "I can't tell you." He sits down on the ledge of the tub and lets his legs dangle in the water. But as always, his legs stay dry. This time, his sigh sounds sad, and all of a sudden, he looks so lost that it almost breaks my heart. "Ron, are you sad about it?" I whisper. He looks at me and says, "Yes and no. Some things I really desire and I miss them, in as much as you can talk about missing. After all, I don't know what they really are like." "That sounds complicated." "Yes, it is that, and very much so. I'm pleased that through you I can feel something. You are a very touchy-feely woman, and through you I feel very much alive." "Wow, that's the first time you've said that." I am amazed. Perhaps because I've become aware of it again today. Your heart is so big and you give so much to others. Unfortunately, you forget that you're here too. "I feel that you're lonely although I'm here," he adds dejectedly. "I'm not lonely. How come you have that idea?" I ask in dismay. "You can be with somebody and still be lonely. I can't fulfill a whole certain part of your wishes, and you know that perfectly well. I can support you, but I can't give you what you really yearn for, and that breaks my heart." I know what he means, but I impatiently roll my eyes. It's not always just about sex, but it is about caresses. They are good for the soul, but I can't give them to you. He now sounds almost desperate. "Oh yes, so other men would be good for me." I switch direction. "If they make you happy, yes. It wouldn't make me happy to sleep with other guys if I had you before my eyes." "I would disappear then," he assures me hastily. "No, that's not what I meant. If I slept with another guy, I would still be thinking only of you, and that doesn't make me happy. It would seem like a betrayal to me." While looking at his puzzled face, I add, "Don't look so flabbergasted. There are lots of other things that are important apart from caresses and sex. For a start, I could get myself a dog." Now he smiles. "Does that mean that if I don't go away at some time, you'll never bring a man home?" I am appalled. "Why? Do you want to go away?" "No, I don't." He calms me down. "I have only come to life through you. Why should I want to give up that feeling?" "Because I'm complicated." He laughs out loud. "Can I please have that in writing?" "You're laughing at me." "No, I'm not. I just like kidding you." "Oh, Mara, you've got so many complexes. Do you seriously think there's a better woman in the whole world than you?" "Very witty," I say in a bad mood, and lift myself out of the bathtub. "Look, you don't even notice when I place my heart at your feet." "I don't find that amusing at all," I answer and dry myself down. "I am quite serious about it. Come on, look at me," he answers seriously. Hesitantly, I wrap the bath towel tighter around me. We've never had such a topic before. I don't know what I should say about it. After all, he knows only me and can't judge all of my ways correctly. If he was really here and had a body, he wouldn't stay with me, not after all he knows about me. "Please believe me, I'd never leave you," he says insistently, and it sounds as though he's firmly convinced of it. Slowly, I turn round. Tears are streaming down my cheeks. Yes, he's right. How happily I just let myself fall into his arms, but that's not possible. Instead, I let myself sink onto the bath mat and hear what he whispers into my ear. I imagine it tickles, although I know perfectly well that I can't feel him. "I didn't want that. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said all that." His voice sounds desperate. I whisper, "If I was 100% certain you're a ghost, I'd kill myself just to be with you." Oh, Mara, you mustn't even think such a thing. I shouldn't have said that to you, I'm sorry. I look up and see him leaning over me with an anxious face. Don't be scared. I won't do anything to end my life prematurely, but why did you say all that to me? I mean, you absolutely want me to get to know a man, and then you say something like that. I raise myself and go as close to him as possible. I thought it would make you happy. But when you said you would be imagining only my face when you were with someone else, I felt such a hot feeling and had to tell you I can't leave you anymore. That is nice of you, but you don't know so many women that you could see in me the non plus ultra. Those are the words of a woman with self-doubts, he interrupts me, and his face is almost touching mine. How can I prove to you that I have perceived more women than you can imagine? Before I met you, I watched them, I saw and studied them in their thousands, but none are like you. When he says the last word, something lightly bumps into my lip. In surprise, I move a little away from him. Ron also moves back a little and looks at me amazed. Only an electrical discharge, I stammer and think to myself, or a sign. Yes, that's what it is, Ron says. Let's watch the film and forget the whole conversation. Forget it? I can't do that. I have to process what's been said. I mean, how do you conduct a relationship with a ghost? Did we have one at all? Over the last year, I have kept my distance from everything to do with men. Why? Because I like Ron more than I want to admit to myself. Who haunts my dreams? He does. Who makes me laugh? He does. Who supports me just with his words? He does. Oh man, I'm in love. How can that be? Come on, Ron says again. I don't want to see the film anymore, I say firmly, because now I know at last how I can breathe life into Ron. Why not then? He asks, confused. I want you to feel me, I say seriously, turn around and go into the bedroom. Only when I take off my bathrobe and start caressing myself does he understand what I mean. When I open my eyes after a long time, I see him bent over me. He's breathing heavily. Could you feel it? I ask. Yes, he pants, even stronger than the first time. I thought I'd explode inwardly from fulfillment. That's good. I'm smiling like a cat that's just licked clean a bowl of cream. Why did you do that? Because I wanted to show you I feel more for you than can be put into words. I'm perfectly aware that you can't give me some things, but I don't care. And now be quiet and feel my satisfaction. I just want to dream now. He tosses me a hand kiss and smiles, and he looks so happy. Good. Sleep well. I'll accompany you through your dreams. I sure hope so, I answer before devoting myself to ordering my 3 blankets. I know I'm dreaming, but it is so real. Ron and I are at an endless beach. His hand is holding mine, and I feel the pressure and the warmth through all of my fingers. The wind is blowing through our hair. We take a run and hop about in the froth until our clothes are totally wet. Ron takes me in his arms and spins me around. Again, I feel his body on mine so vividly as though he were really holding me firmly. Gently, he lets me go and looks deep into my eyes. His dark blue eyes look me over with curiosity. It all seems so real, he sighs. Yes, I breathe back, and then he presses me to him. His body is firm and strong and feels good. I am impressed by the intensity of the feeling that takes me over. But at the same time, I am annoyed by my dream because it seems to me like a betrayal. Ron would be sad if he knew about it. No, Mara. Enjoy it. I can feel it too, I hear Ron saying quietly, and as a request in my arms. But that can't be. After all, I'm only dreaming. That's right. But I really can feel everything, I hear his voice again. Please, Mara, enjoy it the way I am. Something has happened. Perhaps through your feelings for me. I can't say why, but it's so intense. Without thinking, I press him even more firmly against me and hear him sighing. For minutes we just stand there and hold each other in our arms. I can't do anything about it, but it actually does feel real. When he caresses my back, I get goosebumps. How is that possible? I wonder, still snuggled in his arms. No idea, Ron answers and keeps caressing me. Can you feel my hands too? I ask and gently massage his back. Yes, he breathes. Can I kiss you? He asks softly, as though he had to ask my permission. Just try it, I say challengingly. He stops the caressing, puts his hands on my arms and steps back astride. Then he looks at me, and I freeze. In his eyes there is an expression I have never seen, undisguised curiosity and excitement, and something else is new. A glow is in his eyes, together with passion that almost makes me giddy. Suddenly my heart is racing, the blood pulses through my veins, and I am just about to faint from excitement. Calm down, everything's okay, he says softly and steps closer. Very close. It's all right for him to talk. I'm standing in front of the man who knows me best, and am about to faint at any moment just because he would like to kiss me the first time. Is it possible to faint in a dream? Should we postpone it? He asks quietly, and I feel his breath on my face. And something else. I can smell him. A sweet aroma is streaming out of his mouth, and I breathe it in deeply. Wonderful. Should we put it off, Mara? He asks again. I shake my head. Who knows whether the chance will come again? He stares at me and sighs. Do you know how lovely it is to hold you at last and smell you? I can hardly wait to taste you. I know what he means, because I feel just the same way. We look at each other. Neither of us wants to close eyes at this moment. I study his face as though I was seeing it for the first time, and my glance stays at his lips. I have never seen such wonderful lips. If they feel the way they look, then... Oh, I don't know. He grins. Never has a man hesitated so long to kiss me. He seems to be registering every emotion in me. Just his glance is so intense that I'm again breathing more heavily. And his breathing is faster, and suddenly I again catch his smell. It hits me like lightning. It is so wonderful. Then he hesitantly bends forward, slowly, quite slowly, until he finally reaches my lips. Now I feel his lips on mine. We look into each other's eyes, and I see in him the wonderment that very suddenly becomes fire. In this kiss is the suppressed passion of a whole lifetime. I have never felt anything like that. My whole body quivers as though it were electrified. I switch off my brain and surrender totally to that feeling. How can a kiss be so intimate? With that feeling, I open my eyes and see Ron lying over me. He jerks back. It's over, he says sadly. So you really felt it too? Ron, it was marvellous, I say, and sit up. Yes, he smiles. How can such a thing be possible? I haven't the faintest idea, but I want to experience it again. I do too. Do you think I was on a spiritual level? I ask hesitantly. I don't think ghosts can feel so intensely, he answers. On top of that, it has not been explained that I really am one. And if I really think it over, I've already several times had the feeling of touching you. Only teeny-weeny impulses, not like what we just experienced, but still something. I remember my sensations that I regarded as imagination. Ron, I have felt that too. Do you think it's possible for you to materialize? Till yesterday, that seemed to me totally impossible, but now I'm thinking about it in another way. Now I want it. I thought it would be enough for me just to exist at your side without touching you, but now I know what it means to really feel you. I want to experience that again. In his face, his desperation is mirrored. I want it too. I want you. And don't believe my feelings for you were less intense before. I heard your thoughts, Mara, he gently interrupts me. And it doesn't hurt me that you wish I could hug and kiss you. I myself want that since the day when you leaned spewing over the toilet basin. Yuck! What's that supposed to mean? Well, at that time I would have been happy to support you or at least hold your hair away from your face, he grins tenderly. Wow! I was gobsmacked. So much I haven't told you. I don't know why just today we've admitted our feelings. Maybe it's the season. But I was serious about everything. You are the most marvellous woman in the world, and I want you, all of you. His eyes do not let me go. Me too. I can only breathe weakly and I think of that incredible kiss. Do you think you could kiss me like that again? He grins. Hey, again and again. But we still don't know how it happened. How are we to find out? Not a clue. I only know I'm not a normal ghost. Actually, I'm pretty sure of that. It's as though something is holding me trapped, and you're the key that sets me free. How can I be the key? I already said I don't know. Listen. It's now 4 a.m. and we're not going to make further progress. I'm really hungry. So what about a tasty bread roll fresh from the baker? Haha, very witty, he says dryly. Come on, I don't want to go alone, I ask, and I woo him with the eyes of a doe deer. He laughs devotedly. Get dressed. Of course I'm going with you. Quickly I brush my hair and slip into my clothes. Then we jump down the stairway and I open the door to let in the fresh morning air. I breathe deeply. Glorious. I give a loud cheer and beam at Ron. Yes, it is glorious. I felt it, he laughs. It was a good idea of yours. I think we should go through the park to the big bakery in Imperial Street, I suggest. I can positively already taste the huge sweet cheese bread rolls. That's quite a distance, Ron raises an objection. Oh, come on, if somebody's feet hurt, it won't be yours, I mock. But I would definitely feel yours, Ron answers hesitantly. Oh, for goodness sake, Ron. I'd like to so much. He gives a loud laugh. It's your feet. So let's go. Yippee! I yell and run down the street. You're like a young dog being taken for a walk, he grins when we turn into a small alley that leads to the park. This morning I find everything glorious. I've experienced so many good things and, oh man, we kissed. And, do you know how good you were? I ask boisterously. We were, he replies full of dignity. Come again. We were good. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to kiss like that, so we. Okay then, we were. How nice that sounds, we. I think we're a strange pair. Are there even stranger ones? Asterix and Obelix, he suggests helpfully. You're comparing us with Asterix and Obelix? I don't get it. Why can't men sometimes say something romantic? Well, suggest something better. Let me think it over for a while. It's meant to knock your socks off. Hey, sweetie, what are you up to? You're a bit confused, eh? I suddenly hear a deep, drawly voice behind me. Ron freezes and says only, Don't stop, keep going. But I do turn slowly around. I see a man. His age is hard to guess. He looks drunk. I don't know how long he's been watching me. Do you always talk to yourself? He asks. At first I thought there was somebody else there, but you're all by yourself. I have to keep going. I stutter and want to run away, but he suddenly grabs me by the arm. Hey, okay, I won't do anything to you. I just need a bit of money. Have you got some? He asks, watching me closely. Mara, run, get going, Ron insists. I've got no money, I say and try to snatch myself free. You're real pretty, the guy suddenly says with a slur. I want to go, let go of me. I am trying desperately to speak with a firm voice. Are you being funny? You'll keep me a little company now? He claws his fingers into my upper arm. Mara, you're strong enough. You can pull free. Do it now, Ron demands. You're hurting me. I yell at the man and try to get free, but he is too strong. Like lightning, a thought flashes through me. He won't let me go, and I'm practically alone. Oh, God, Ron, what should I do? I'm with you. I won't let him do anything to you, he promises me in desperation. The man laughs. Relax, sweetie, we'll have all the more fun together. With those words, he throws me backwards onto the lawn near the footpath, lies down on me and holds my hands tight. He's so heavy, his whole body is pressing me down, and I am totally unable to move. His breath stinks so much of stale alcohol that I feel nauseated. Help, Ron, help me. I look at Ron's desperate, helpless face and think only, he should not see this. The man is trying to kiss me, but I turn my head lightning fast to the side. So you want to play the bitch a bit, but that makes the whole thing more fun. He's panting on me and his weight is pressing the air out of my body. Let me go, I roar. You can yell all you want, nobody will hear you here. At the earliest, the first ones will get out of bed in half an hour. Until then, you belong to me. Panic is spreading through me. What can he do to me in half an hour? Ron is still standing there as though petrified. I feel the man's hands groping at my jacket. Then he rips it open and grabs under my pullover. My hands are free, I think. "You're not wearing a bra," he grunts, satisfied. I drum with my fists on his back, but he just laughs. "Keep it up, baby. That's almost petting." My body is still trapped under his weight, and I scream like a stuck pig. That seems to pull Ron out of his trance. But of course he can't do anything. "I can't do it! Damn it, I don't know what I should do," he yells. He should not be watching this. I don't want him to suffer and feel guilty about it. So I look deep into his eyes, I sob. "Ron, please go away. I don't want you to see this. I love you." And then suddenly the earth moves and lightning cracks, and Ron stands bodily near the stranger and gives him a powerful punch. "Shit, where did you come from?" The man pants aghast. "Clear off before I kill you." Ron quivers and his whole face is a mask distorted by rage. The stranger pulls himself together with difficulty and runs away. I'm still sobbing and cannot trust my eyes. This must be a dream. Ron's face relaxes and he looks at me. "Don't look so terrified, now it's all okay." He gives me his hand to help me up. Hesitantly, I grasp it and feel with a surge of joy his warm, powerful fingers. But how is this possible?" I ask, dumbfounded as he draws me to himself and kisses me on the forehead. "Do you believe in magic?" he asks. "From today, I believe in everything," I whisper, still overwhelmed in his arms, and become aware of a gentle quivering. "Do you feel the cold?" "Yes. As from today, I feel everything," he answers, and shivers more strongly. "Then let's go home before we both freeze to death." "Good. I'll explain everything to you on the way." Now I remember that it was more than 20 years ago. 20 years? So how old are you? Still 25. But how is that possible? Were you really a ghost? No, let me tell you about it. We walk on and he begins. I was rather an idiot in those days, superficial and in love with myself. Well, one day there was this fair. A charming magic fair. But at that time, I did not see it that way. My eyes landed on a couple. I saw a frightfully skinny man and an extremely fat woman. In my eyes, it was so ridiculous that they kissed each other so passionately. I remember that I even found it disgusting. How could anyone love such a fat woman or even desire her? I think I even laughed at the two of them and told them how disgusted I was by them. However that was, the woman suddenly stood beside me. Despite her bulk, she had moved so briskly and nimbly that I had not even noticed it. I remember I looked at her in horror. "You have no idea what it's like when you are loved without qualifications," she snorted. I think I answered with something stupid. In any case, she became very angry. "Very well then, laddie," she snarled. "You're going to learn what it's like to be loved for your own sake. But before that, you'll be alone for a long time. Nobody will be able to perceive you except the woman who fills your life with happiness. Not until you've found her will you know what suffering is, because you'll be able only to sense and smell her when her feelings are with you. Otherwise, you'll not be able to touch or taste her. If someday she gets stronger feelings for you, even though you don't have a firm body, then your suffering will get worse because you'll have to watch how she looks for closeness and fulfillment with other men. And then, for the first time in your miserable existence, you'll wish to be stuck again in a body with all of its senses. But that wish will not be fulfilled until the woman says the magic words, "I love you." Till then, you'll pine away in unfulfilled yearning for her. But you'll forget all of my words now and set out in search of that woman. And as long as the search lasts, your body will not change. And now, lots of luck. When the fat woman had finished, I became giddy, and when I woke up, I was alone and knew nothing about the fair. Until then, when you said, "I love you." And I'm more than happy, even if the search has lasted a rather long time. Ron falls silent and waits for my reaction. I stop walking and look at him and can hardly grasp my happiness. He is real. He is mine. He looks so very handsome. and I am fearfully cold. Wow, I say, shivering. Come on, let's run, otherwise we'll catch our death of cold. What sort of irony would that be? I answer, shuddering. Then we set off running. Completely out of breath, we arrive home and rush up the stairs. I'd never have thought it's so beautiful to be out of breath, Ron pants. Tomorrow I'll surely have muscle cramps, I whine. I'll massage your feet, Ron promises, grinning. Will you stay on as my flatmate? I ask quietly and timidly. He looks at me and shakes his head. My heart drops into my shoes. My worst fears seem to be true. Then Ron comes to me, takes my shoulders in both hands, and looks at me. Why do you have such self-doubts? I'll not be just your flatmate, but your husband, who accompanies you as long as you accept me as a genuine man. I look at him in disbelief. Are you serious? Do I look as though I'm joking? No. Then I don't know the point of the question. Mara, I love you. With my body too. Do you think you could repeat the kiss of this morning? I ask. He grins. And I thought you were never going to ask. And then we start where we had stopped early in the morning. And it's even more intense than the first kiss, if that is at all possible. And from that day on, Ron stayed exactly where he belonged, by my side. He held me when I needed holding, made me laugh when I took life too seriously, and, most importantly, kept my permanently freezing feet warm at night. I still needed my 3 blankets, of course. Some habits are simply sacred. But now I had something much better to snuggle up to. And if that isn't happily ever after, I honestly don't know what is.